Yo, MC Starman here.
Hi all, my name is Diana. We're coming to you from the Quatsin territory here in Cowichan Valley, and we're excited to talk about spring.
The spring equinox 2022 that comes on March 20th. This is the healer and the dreamer, and here's the chart of the spring equinox. And so we're going to go over the charts with you today. Um, but let's talk about what equinox charts are like. Have you studied? They called horary charts. You know, in the horary chart.
I've studied charts, but I don't think I've studied horary specifically much.
Well, horary is like ancient or like medieval astrology, ancient astrology. There are people who do financial astrology. Those are horary techniques. That's called mundane astrology. So it's using a chart as an oracle. So you have a question you ask of the oracle. So then the astrologer will take the chart from a moment that he receives the question: should I get married? Should I buy this house? Is this going to be a good summer for me? So these are, so then it becomes an oracle. And the astrologer will draw a chart for that moment, and you'll read the chart quite differently.
I have done this a bit, I guess, because this year I got a course where you take a picture where your sun is the moment it is on your birthday, and you see where all the other planets are, and you learn to dissect what this year is going to tell you about your life this year. So is that kind of the same?
Well, that's a solar return chart.
Yes, exactly.
The solar return chart is a little bit different too. So many different types of astrology. And well, it's good. It's good. We're putting terms where they belong. And that's the purpose of these videos, right? Is to educate at the same time to entertain. I hope we're entertaining, and also to kind of get some insight into the times that we're living through, right? So let's look at that chart again. Oh, so that's horary. Then that was pretty clear.
Yeah. So we're looking at it as a like casting a question or
right. So then horary charts were used. I'm sorry, equinox and solstice charts were used in ancient astrology as a way of predicting what the next season is like. So here we did the chart for March 20th at 8:34 a.m. And so 8:34 a.m.
So that's this Saturday.
Right. No, Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday, 8:34 in the morning. And then these are the signatures. And again, this chart sets the moon for the whole season. So what we see here is a sun quinsunk the moon. So now just a few hours before, the moon is in opposition to so probably the night before, the moon will be in opposition and forming a trine to Pluto. So now we have moon square Pluto, sun. So right off the bat, the moon is in the sixth house. So the moon, the self, really, in horary astrology, the moon counts for you as an individual with a square to Pluto in the 10th. This is intense times. We of transformation, and the 10th house is what you seek to contribute into the world. Pluto in the 10th, there's like it packs a lot of power, so get a sense that this is going to be about healing ourselves and finding our place of power. The sun is in the 12th house, coming into Aries. So the sun comes now into a time of dominion. This last half of the year, from Libra to Pisces, the sun is weaker, the moon is stronger. Now the sun is being reborn. It's the beginning of the astrological year, but still the sun is in the 12th house. And what's interesting about it, and we've been feeling this through this full moon here, Mercury, Jupiter, Neptune, Sun, all in Pisces. It's the big fog. And then if you're interested, you can look at our post that we did about the Virgo full moon, right? So just a few days. So the sun is here and moon is in Virgo. So on the what was the date of the full moon again?
It's the 18th.
The 18th, right? So
17th if you're depending on where you are.
Exactly, yeah, in the middle of the night of the 17th to the 18th. And so then we did that moon and we talked about it. And then that Venus, Mars, interesting thing is Venus and Uranus are in mutual reception to each other. So Venus is in the sign ruled by Uranus. Uranus is in the sign ruled by Venus. So, and then Uranus in this is in the first house. So the need for evolution and revolution, takes center stage over it all. And the Saturn discipline, creative discipline, and the Mars mastery of the self, so that will be a very important signature to our times, so then a real time to master ourselves and to really let the freak flag fly, Uranus in the first house in this deep time of transformation. How does that resonate with you, Day?
Seems kind of exciting. Seems like that mastery of self will really support the sun, moon, Pluto.
Right. It's interesting, and all of these will evolve. I think we're going to look at the next chart over, which is really the next new moon. And so the Aries new moon. And so the Aries new moon. So this is a very interesting chart, and I looked at it to try to define it. And this is a really cool example of how we use a chart. So for Jung, Carl Jung, what he saw is the angular relationship with the planet forms a complex. And here it is a very straight up narrative, that kind of a little loop there, huh? It's like really interesting where all the planets are united in a story. So we'll tell that story. First part of the story is Sun, Moon in conjunction in Aries. So the masculine and the feminine are united, the sign of the hero. In exact conjunction to Chiron, the wounded healer. So the healing of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine of the conjunctio. And then we're approaching the inferior conjunction of Mercury to the sun as well. So then the guide of souls. So then we're really seeking to heal the sacred feminine and the masculine together. Then it goes to Uranus, the great revolutionary, the need to evolve and to bring light, the light bringer. And then we go to that Saturnian discipline of Mars-Venus. We looked at that Mars-Venus conjunction. Now it's exact. So there's a discipline of self-mastery and creativity that leads to the emancipation of the sacred teacher within us, Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces. So that Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces is coming close, and then leading to transformation, Pluto. So the need to really master the healing process and to communicate it so that we can bring light to others, using our discipline, creative, and the mastery of the self in a mystical, truth-seeking transformation. Ooh, that's a cool little moon, huh? Cool. How did you feel about that one?
I think it's neat. It's a really wild chart. I've seen a lot of charts now finally, and that one is very clear and concise, it seems like, and very also like tight. A lot of energies in small spots.
Well, you don't see charts that are that well defined, you know, and so it's a very, we had one chart that we did earlier, I think 2 charts ago together in our Soli Luna report that we do, Inspiration. We did a chart that was kind of similar to that one, but this is the first new moon of spring, and that'll set the tone. And then you saw all of the different conjunctions involved in the relationships. Now, the next 2 charts we're going to do are charts for the eclipses. So you asked me earlier, what are eclipse charts for you? What do you see eclipse as being for you?
Eclipses, I guess I'm still defining it, but eclipse to me is interesting how it's this time where either things come into union and you can or cannot see them. So like the sun and the moon, and so the moon gets, I think you'd use the word combusted by the sun often, or it like has a reset, a restart. But then on the full moon, that's the lunar eclipse, right?
Right.
And so then there's this like illumination that happens as well.
Right.
We go between the moon and the sun.
So we'll see.
So
we'll
show. It's hidden, I guess.
It's hidden, yes. Well, we'll show you on the chart next here what that looks like. But so if we look at and so the Earth is in the center. So the system is a geocentric system, and at a full moon, the moon and the sun and the Earth form an exact line. Now, when these full moons become in alignment with the nodal axis within 18 degrees or something like that, that's an eclipse. So both of the eclipse, and we'll show you, they fall within that range of the nodal axis. So the nodal axis, the north and the south node, the north node is the head of the dragon, the south node is the tail of the dragon. These are points in the sky that, and this is really interesting, huh? So the moon turns around the sun, right? And the circle that the moon, around the earth, sorry. The moon turns around the earth, and the circle that the moon creates, that's called the ecliptic of the moon turning around the earth. And the earth turns around the sun and creates an ecliptic also, where those 2 ecliptic circles meet. That's the nodal axis. And so, and they represent the time where the sun and the moon, and these are ancient symbols. In the ancient times, people went to sacred rivers and to sacred holy places to offer sacrifices during these very peculiar moment where the sun or the moon would disappear. And we learned to calculate this 2,000-3,000 years ago, you know, with very rudimentary tools. The astronomers and early astrologers learned to calculate these times. Now, from a purely psychological perspective, thank you. What we have is in the flow of life, in the path to life, the eclipse season, because usually there's 2 eclipses, sometimes there's 3, usually a lunar and a solar eclipse, and sometimes there'll be one more depending on how close there are to that window. But these eclipse seasons are like signposts on the highway to life, where we come to that point there, and happen twice a year, about 6 months apart. And that's an opportunity for us to check in and to know. Again, the earth and the sun and the moon are in exact alignment. For a solar eclipse, the moon is between the earth and the sun. For a lunar eclipse, the sun, the earth, and then the moon. And so the rays of the sun are blocked and the moon disappears. or the moon blocks the light of the sun to get to the earth. So energetically, it's like a reboot, you know, it's like your computer goes down and you got to light it up again, you know. So then it's energetically, it is an opportunity to recenter our energies and to understand where we are. So they're great times for meditation and for practice and for insight, great time for journaling and doing any kind of practice. That's a nice little explanation. Huh? You got any questions about that?
Yeah, thank you. No, that was great.
Cool.
I love that.
So then we got, so that's that Aries new moon. And again, what a trippy little chart that is. And then we go into the Taurus new moon solar eclipse on April 30th. So that's one of those signposts here. And let's look at what happens. So first, the Uranus is in the 10th house. So in the Equinox chart, Uranus was in the first house. Right. Now Uranus is in the 10th house cusp in conjunction with the sun and the moon. And so this is a solar eclipse, you know, so the earth and the sun and the moon. So the moon is between the earth and the sun. And so that's, you know, and then that need for evolution and revolution also in that square to Saturn. Seems like every moon, every, you know, we explore that Uranus-Saturn conjunction. And for those who have been following our work, you can know about the Saturn-Uranus, and then we've had a bunch of videos on it. And so that's interesting. And then what else do you see, Day?
See that new moon? It's like the sun and the moon are in the 9th house, which I associate with like higher understanding, and then it's conjunct Uranus. So it's like this higher understanding for a need for revolution.
And yes, and then they're in conjunction with the 10th house cusp,
and how to like do that work in the world, maybe.
Like I call myself MC Starman. So the MC, the middle of the sky, is the point where we contribute to the world. So it's part of the word play on the MC Starman is the middle of the sky, as you know. So then that sun moon eclipse with Uranus, you know, there's a real sense of a revolutionary urgency to become more fully who I am. What else do you see in the chart?
That Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune conjunction looks like it's getting to be a pretty tight conjunction now. That's wild. The end of Pisces. Yes,
that is, you know, you can look at that and you can think, wow, that's quite sublime. Huh? We have Venus is exalted in Pisces, Jupiter, Neptune are the ruler of Pisces. Venus in Pisces is Mother Teresa kind of love. Jupiter in Pisces is the wise teacher. Neptune in Pisces is let's get out of the material world. So then that Venus, Jupiter, Neptune also goes to Pluto, transformation, and Mercury, communication, forming that beautiful little triangle there. So very communicative, creative, you know, and revolutionary. And then we also have that Chiron to Mars, back to the new moon. And then we also have the Saturn, and then Saturn and Mercury, huh? So interesting new moon eclipse. So very important time. Anything comes up for you?
I just see this like big cosmic love with all that happening in Pisces.
Big cosmic love in the, you know, in the light. Well, that Jupiter Neptune conjunction, you know, we've been talking about it, you know, and how, when is the Jupiter Neptune conjunction exact?
Jupiter Neptune conjunction is exact on the 9th of April.
Yeah, for so that beginning of April there. So Jupiter, you know, will be in conjunction with Neptune.
So it's like all months long, really.
And it started, you know, like the last at the equinox there, we had Jupiter, Neptune, Mercury, and the sun. Now Venus is with Jupiter and Neptune, and then Mars is also now in Pisces. And Mars is going to be in conjunction with Neptune soon.
Yeah, at the end of May.
And then we'll have the Mars Jupiter conjunction also in May, I believe.
Yeah.
That's going to be really something to watch for. And then Jupiter and Venus are both getting ready to go in Aries. So the energies are definitely shifting. Exciting, exciting, exciting. And so then the next chart we got for you is the Scorpio full moon lunar eclipse, and that's a much more charged chart, huh?
It's a lot more busy. You can see that.
So
wow.
Go ahead. What do you see?
Where to start? It's a full moon, so I guess starting with the moon in the 12th house. Well, opposite the sun, and then the sun is conjunct. Is it really conjunct? It looks like it wants to be conjunct Mercury and Uranus.
Well, I consider them all together here, but see, we have the nodal axis here.
Yeah, so it's the eclipse.
Yeah, it's the eclipse, but now the Earth is here, so now this is the lunar eclipse. So the rays of the sun are blocked by the Earth. I think this will be partially visible in North America where we are, mostly on the East Coast. It'll be really visible. Here it will be partially visible. And also Mercury retrograde. Mercury has turned retrograde in Gemini. So that'll be very interesting to keep track of. Mercury retrograde, May 10th to June 3rd. With the Mercury Sun conjunction on May 22nd, we'll talk lots more about that. That's going to be important. And whenever we have a conjunction of Mercury and Uranus, there's great intelligence and insight with Sun in the middle. And then soon Mercury will catch up to the Sun on the 22nd. So that's a very important full moon, and it forms a T-square with Saturn. And so then that real need for discipline and integrating the revolutionary, you know, and so this is a very introspective, and so that Saturn, Uranus for both eclipses are really constellated. And so I anticipate May to have a real revolutionary feel to it, where, you know, we've been going through four Saturn Uranus squares. By now you can see that the revolution is more organized, and the agenda of the power base is becoming more and more clear, and we're becoming more and more united. And this T-square there will be really powerful in that.
Yeah, reminds me of Fairy Creek. I just saw their new movement. They're asking for those who want to help, but they've got a different approach. You kind of got to fill out this paperwork first. You got to do everything tickety-boo, and they're even more organized, even though they've already been very organized about things. I just see that come up, and then I wonder what in a political stance that'll look like.
That's what you have the feeling is people are starting to rise up, you know, and then we're going to see that Saturn Uranus square really built in August and September and November. So that'll be very fascinating, and we'll follow that. But this eclipse here should set the tone for that. But the really interesting thing here is that Mars, Jupiter, Neptune. So now Venus has passed. Now Mars and Neptune are in exact conjunction. That can be difficult. Mars seeks to manifest the will. Neptune dissolves the need to be an individual. So Mars, Neptune, in the light of empowerment would be in being in service to humanity, to the greater whole. But also Mars, Neptune is typical or a signature of victimization.
So that's something to watch for a lot, eh?
Mars, Neptune is difficult, and then Mars, Neptune, Jupiter, and at the beginning here at the end of the spring, we're going to have that Mars Jupiter conjunction, which will be really quite the show towards the end of May. So that's building. Actually, it's in June, I think. Or when is the Mars Jupiter?
The 29th of May.
The 29th of May. So that's becoming closer.
Yeah, it's only 3 degrees of Aries. So Jupiter there must be just 1 or 0 degrees.
Then we have that just cute little Venus Chiron conjunction, a need to heal the sacred feminine, but it's not getting a lot of attention. You get the feeling that we're going to be much more busy in bringing out this revolutionary urge, and that our inner princess may feel quite wounded in the whole thing. And then I wanted to also point out this bowl shape with Pluto.
Oh, yeah.
See that bowl there?
Yeah.
So that is a formation we see often. So it's a T square here, but then there's 3 sextiles and 2 trines uniting everything. So then if we look at that as a constellation, we have the moon in Scorpio, Pluto, death and rebirth, transformation, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, the mystical need to be in service, but to manifest, the great teacher, the wise teacher, and then Mercury retrograde, Sun and Uranus forming a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 planet bowl shape, like a sacred container, like a holy grail kind of thing. So that's quite cool, huh?
There's also a lot going on in the 4th house there.
What's that?
The 4th house is 5 planets.
Yeah, so another stellium.
Well,
a stellium in the 4th house, the foundation, so stelliums. So we saw that in the Equinox chart, 5 planets in the 12th house. In the 4th house is more about creating a foundation, nurturing, and so we'll take a look at that as we go along. But yeah, that Venus Chiron's hard to manifest, but that Neptune, Jupiter, Mars, and Jupiter. Oh, that's an interesting note too. We're going to see Mars comes into Aries. Mars will be in Aries for a very long time.
It gets really exalted. Why will it be in there for so long?
So Mars will come into Aries, will move all the way out, and at the end or middle of summer, it's going to turn retrograde and move all the way back and come back. And Mars, when it enters into Aries, will be into Aries till the beginning of January.
Wow.
So Mars in Aries. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's it's in Gemini. It comes later on.
Okay.
Yeah. Mars in Gemini. That's in the fall. I'm sorry.
That makes more sense.
But yeah, Mars in Aries will be in for a month there, and then that Mars Jupiter conjunction will be really strong.
I'm excited for that. I feel like it's the Mars in Pisces is a little bit more sticky energy, and once it hits Aries, then hits Jupiter and can expand, it's going to make a lot of steps forward.
Well, with all of that, earthy Plutonian kind of energy we've seen in the fall, in the winter, and then all of the intensity of Pisces. I don't know how you're feeling this Pisces season. How are you feeling the Pisces season?
I just want to read and write and draw and knit. If I'm not doing something creative, I tend to want to escape. So I'm trying to just do stuff that's creative.
There's a certain flavor of despair in the air
Yeah.
that really encourages creativity. Like we talked about in our full moon post, there's something really creative about despair, and it drives us to creativity. And so, yeah, with all of these planets all moving along together and getting ready to go into Aries and the spring and all of this season that is always the most beautiful season, I think we're bound to have quite an exciting spring.
Looking forward to it.
You feeling that too? And
yeah, I feel like there's a big energy left the last little bit, and it'll be exciting to see where that goes.
My sense is somebody asked me about the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction and what did he see about that. Personally, I see a return to peace. When we talked with Alan about this, the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, it was a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction at the end of World War I. There was a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction at the end of World War II. There was a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction when the Berlin Wall fell.
Wow.
So the Jupiter-Neptune, so I think that we're all hoping for a quick end to that madness that we're seeing out there in Europe, and that has captivated the world. So I think that if that comes to a quick, if that Jupiter Neptune is true to its archetypal nature, especially in Pisces, I think we're liable to feel really good about ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anything else, my dear?
Here's hoping. No, I think that's a wonderful quick synopsis of the spring and a lot of big things to come, and we'll dive more into it in the coming weeks too with more videos, but it's good to always know what's on the rise.
We do these posts. Well, this was a kind of a special Equinox special, but we do solely Luna inspiration every new moon and every full moon. Please subscribe to our channel. We're up to 350 members. It's coming along slowly. Tell your friends, comment, ask questions. We love to show up for you. And Day's been very lovely to be with in these videos. So thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Oh yeah, maybe we should share with them what we got offering.
Yeah, good things to come in the future here too.
So this is the Healer and the Dreamer Astrology. We do readings, dream work, workshops. Day does natural healing, nutritional consultations. I have a little motto in my practice: if creativity is a fire, I'm your biggest fan. So reach out for astrology readings and dream analysis. Healer Dreamer Astrology. Here's the website, and then the YouTube channel, also Facebook. This is MC Starman with my good friend Dayana. Thank you.
That's a wrap. Thank you.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Take care. Happy spring.
Yay.